Namaste students. Today we are going to see an interesting topic called speciation. To understand speciation better, let us slightly recapitulate what we have done in the previous module. We have seen that there are variations bound to occur during sexual reproduction, and this variation is of two types. One is called heritable variation and the other is called non-heritable variation. And we have seen that these non-heritable variations are also called as acquired traits. Now, we are going to see very specifically about these heritable variations, which are very important for speciation. Now, let us see the population of the beetles, what we have discussed in the variation. These are the population of beetles with the two types of color. One is a red color and the other one is a blue color. Now, this population of beetles are going to be there in a mountain range, for example. And this population is going to mingle with each other and they are going to move around. We assume that these beetles going to get segregated, somewhat like this. This is a random movement and slowly they start moving towards one side, and so all the blue beetles get aggregated towards one side and the red beetles get aggregated on the other side. Then later what happens? These red beetles increase in their number. That is, the population size of the red beetle in its side increases. Simultaneously, the blue population in its side, their number also gradually increases. Now, accidentally, one beetle from the blue color is going to migrate to the place where the red beetles are found. It can be due to the predator like crow, which is not going to eat that. Accidentally they carry them and they leave it in the geographical area where these red beetles are seen. Here the gene starts flowing from this blue beetle area to the red beetle area. Yes? Okay. It is an accidental event. Now I can understand your question. Why can't this beetle itself curiously move there and go to the red beetle population area? Yes, that is also possible. So, the migration of the beetle can take place by its own curiosity, or it can be done by some external agent like its natural predator called crow. So, now they are entered into this population. Now what happens? This blue beetle may cross with the red beetle. That is, they may undergo mating and a new gene pool can be formed. This new gene pool can bring out some variation. And when such variation is going to occur, we may get a new color. See, it is very fantastic, isn't it or not? We have seen red and blue many times, but only this time we are seeing a golden color beetle. Yes, there is a chance for formation of beetle like this. Now, this beetle color is only a new variation that we have seen now. When the area between the two is going to get segregated to the larger extent, then this population, when they start breeding among themselves, new variation can occur in other characters also. We have seen here with respect to color, but the beetle is having lot of characters. Many characters may pick up variations, and we all know very well that any variation that is having some adaptive value only will get settled in the population by the process of reproduction. If they don't have any adaptive value, that will be eliminated subsequently in the process of natural selection. So now what happens? New variations are coming in, and those variations which is going to have some adaptive value is going to get settled. Now, we can see some natural factors like the river can intrude between the habitat and segregate the population like this, so that the minimum possibility of the beetles to move to the other's habitat is restricted now. It is much more minimized. Or it can be an emergence of a great mountain. The mountain can act as a barrier. It will not permit this beetle to come here. In that case, what happens? This small population, we call them a subpopulation, they will be completely isolated. And they start developing lot of variations. And even among themselves, there may be some variation, significant variations get accumulated. It will not happen in all the beetles. It may happen in a few beetles that are seen in this particular area. Because of that, what is going to happen? Here, this is a female green colored beetle. Sometimes they may not be in an idea, the female is not going to prefer the male beetle that is red in color. It will avoid mating. In that case, complete isolation will happen. There is no gene flow between the two beetles. Only the green population will be selected. I would like to repeat this. When a female green beetle is going to purposely isolate the red male beetle and avoid reproduction, that is mating, then only the green population will increase, the green colored beetles will increase. If suppose the female green beetle mates with the red beetle, then it can bring about some variation. That's what we have seen. And now, will it be a new species? That is a question. Yes, it can become a new species. When? When the variations are going to get accumulated in a small way, but in several generations, if you see, these small variations get accumulated and they become a significant variation. It is a very large variation. And also we have discussed in the earlier classes that the variations that are heritable only is going to be very significant. And even in the introduction of this class, I have told you the heritable variations are going to be very much useful. So, when these significant variations are going to be the yield of genetic variation, that is DNA variation, then we have to understand that it is going to form a new species. So, we have understood that when the variations is going to be significant and they are genetically diverged, then they can form a new species. Now, you can come out with a question. How will I know whether it has become a new species or not? Because many variations we are seeing in every generation. How to identify? I will tell you. It is very easy to identify whether it is become a new species or not. Number one, when this DNA variation is going to happen and it is going to be very severe enough so that the chromosome number itself is going to change, then there is a possibility for new species. Number two, when this variation is going to take place continuously and the organism that has underwent a lot of variation is not able to mate with its own parental population, that is, they are reproductively isolated, then you can say they are new species. And the third is, morphologically, they have become completely different from that of the parental population. So, if you come out with a question, sir, if any one criteria is sufficient, always, children, it is better to see that all these three criteria are fulfilled. What are they? They are going to have different number of chromosomes, they are reproductively isolated, and morphologically they are different. Once when all these three is going to culminate, then a new species arises. This formation of new species is called speciation. Now, we will discuss about the father of evolution, Charles Darwin. He is ahead of his times. He is one of the wonderful naturalists. He was able to navigate, and he went to several islands. It is a group of islands, we call it as Galapagos Islands in South America, and he got a lot of fossil evidences and he had a lot of ideas. After collecting the fossils and after seeing the Darwinian finches, then he came back and he gave the origin of species by means of natural selection. It is a landmark in the history of biology. Then, as far as the evolution is concerned, many of you will be having a doubt. Many scientists have given a lot of theories for evolution, which is true. Till date, the most acceptable theory for evolution is chemical evolution theory. This theory was proposed by Haldane and Oparin. It was proved by Urey and Miller. This is an experimental setup which was erected by Urey and Miller. This experiment proves that from the simple water vapor, hydrogen, methane like gases, when they all combine in very high temperature, then they can form biomolecules. So with experimental evidences, it was proved that chemical theory or chemical evolution is a form of evolution that is most acceptable even today. So after this chapter, let us have a holistic approach of how the life could have originated in the earth. The life in the earth originated from all these inorganic chemicals in the primitive ocean. When a severe radiation comes into the earth, because you all know in the prehistoric earth, there is no ozone because there is no photosynthesis, no oxygen was available, so radiation was entering inside. And during that time, the reactions was completely different what happened in the ocean. So simple organic molecules are formed from the inorganic molecules, and simple organic molecules become complex organic molecules, and then comes the vital processes of replication. That is, some chemicals have the ability to duplicate themselves. They are called as genes, and later the protocells are formed, and so on and so forth. So the evolution has happened. Then, as far as the organism's evolution is concerned, most of us are convinced with the evolutionary theory given by Darwin. There may be certain setbacks given by Darwin. It is because of the knowledge that is available in his time is very limited. So his ideas also had certain limitations. But still, he is a stalwart in his field. He did an unimaginable work, and he has given us this origin of life. So with this, we will conclude this evolution session. Now, we will see the summary. Speciation may take place when variation is combined with geographical isolation. Yes, children, the geographical isolation is very important. In the given example, we have seen that the river is forming one of the geographical isolation. In the same way, you can see when there is no geographical isolation, the gene flow is very easy. When the geographical isolation exists, we can even call that as ecological isolation. When it happens, then the gene flow is limited. But even in the limited gene flow, you can see that some amount of genes can get shared among the population. It can happen even in the beetle, and also you can see that in the real-time experience. I will give you an example. Say for example, if you take any people in the northeast, that is in the Mizoram, Assam, in this region, Nepal, if you see, you can see they all have a Mongoloid face, which is very close to that of Chinese. It is because the gene flow is there in that border, because it is very close to India and China. So they share the genes. But if you see the population somewhere here in Kerala or in Tamil Nadu, they will not have those features. This is one of the classical examples for geographical isolation. Then, DNA changes between the two groups are severe enough to change the number of chromosomes. Eventually, the germ cells of the two groups cannot fuse with each other. This is also very important. We have seen this. I have given you an example also. When the two groups of the organisms are going to have different number of chromosomes, then they get reproductively isolated. You know who is our immediate ancestor? Yes? Yes, you are right. It is chimpanzee. Chimpanzee is having 48 chromosomes and we are having 46 chromosomes. Do you know, as far as the DNA is concerned, what is the difference that we both have? The difference is only 1%. But can you see how much difference we have with chimpanzee? It is completely different, isn't it or not? And what is the difference between the DNA of one human being and the other human being? We are all same species, but still 0.1% difference is there. Between the species, only 1%. Chimpanzee is completely different and we are completely different. Yes or no? Yes. So, this change in the number of chromosomes has isolated them from reproduction. This is one of the very important criteria that we have seen. Now, the new species differs morphologically. They have different number of chromosomes and they are reproductively isolated. That's what we have just discussed now. This reproductive isolation is very important. The change in the number of chromosomes is also very important. For us, the chromosome number 2 and 3 is going to get segregated, and so that in the chromosome of a chimpanzee is 48 instead of 46. So these are some of the chromosomal details that you can know with respect to speciation. I hope now you are very clear with speciation. Thank you. Namaste.